Hey guys, Lunch Money Comics here. Going off of a tip from one of my viewers, I am here in Putnam, Connecticut. It's about an hour from my house. I was told there was a cluster of antique stores right in downtown, so I decided to check it out. So come along and let's see what I find. I don't have this much time. Okay, I was not prepared for an antique place that big. I mean, that place is like, a full-fledged, mall of antiques. So there's one more place I'm gonna check out, and let's go in. Thank you. All right, stick a fork in me. There was just too many comic books to go through, in the amount of time I had. I was not expecting that at all. So whoever gave me that tip to check these places out, you weren't wrong. I'm definitely gonna have to come back, look for it in a future video. See you guys at home. So that was Putnam, Connecticut. It was a small, quaint little town in northeastern Connecticut. And I don't know if you guys can tell from the footage, but there was just so much this little town had to offer. I mean, besides the antique places, which were massive, and we'll talk about in a second, I mean, in this little 2-block area, they had, lots of restaurants, pubs, cafes, all with outdoor seating, boutiques and great shopping. They even had a hot dog stand. The architecture was fascinating, lots of brick buildings with, big old-timey advertisements painted on the side, banks with Greco-Roman, columns, an old train station. Just a really cool town. But what you didn't see in the footage there is like, after I signed off and said, all right, I'll see you guys at home, I did one more loop around the other side of the block looking for something to eat. And then I saw, to my amazement, a stone's throw from this antique place, a gigantic comic book store called Wonderland Comics. Now, it happened to be closed that first day that I was there, and I certainly have vowed that I need to go back. But, spoiler alert, I have gone back already. About a week after I filmed that footage, the family had a day off. We were looking for something to do, and I said, hey, let's check out this town I saw about a week ago. It's really cool. So we went there and, we had lunch. We sat outside. I had a beer at the brew pub. We went into the antique places again. My wife, who loves antiques, she was in her happy place. We checked out this comic book store. Jack was in his happy place. And I know I say this a lot, guys, but I think now this place, Wonderland Comics, might be the best comic book store I've seen in New England. I mean, certainly one of them. It was just a massive store. Comic books, yes, everywhere, but also lots of gaming stuff, Dungeons and Dragons, card games. There was a back room full of back issues. There was statues, life-size and smaller, of, Marvel superheroes. Just an awesome comic book store that, once again, I didn't have time to give my due diligence. I'm going to have to go back again. This is one of those towns where I feel like, in the middle of winter, when I have nothing to do, maybe I'll go back there, spend an entire day with the goal of going through all these comic books I saw, but also checking out this store. So, if you are in Southern New England and you guys are looking for something to do, even if it's not antiques and comic books, definitely check out Putnam, Connecticut. I'll put a link down in the description to all the places I visited. I don't think you'll regret it. What a charming, beautiful town in New England. So much to offer. All right, now let's talk about the comic books. So I go to lots of antique stores and indoor flea markets. So believe me when I tell you that these two antique places by themselves each had more comic books in them than anyone I'd ever seen before. I would rank them 1 and 1A in the comic book department. And I think if you took into consideration the comic book store around the corner, this one block in this small town in Connecticut must have the highest per capita comic books in the entire country. So, if you were that viewer that left me that comment a few videos ago suggesting Putnam, Connecticut for comic book hunting, leave me a comment, identify yourself, stand up, take a bow. What a fantastic suggestion, a great tip. I want to thank you properly for it. It's definitely going to be a place that I will be going back to for years to come. So that first place I went to was called Antiques Marketplace. It was one of the largest indoor antique flea marketplaces I've ever been to. There were two gigantic floors that were just full of, labyrinthine corridors of glass cases full of every type of collectible and antique you can imagine, plus a basement, plus a mezzanine, and there were comic books everywhere. So you saw a lot of my footage concentrated on this one vendor that had stacks of comic books, not in a box. And they were behind this glass case, so I had to ask somebody to go through them. He unlocked it. I pulled them out, and believe me when I tell you, every single book in these stacks were key issues. And actually the guy who let me into this case was a comic book collector himself. And we're going through them, and I'm saying, the prices are okay. They were sort of close to fair market value. But then he said, well, if you're looking for cheaper stuff, have you been to the mezzanine yet? I said, no, I haven't even been upstairs. And he said, yeah, go up to the mezzanine. There's a small staircase, and there's all comic books up there. I said, all right. So after I looked at these books, I headed up to the second floor, went up to that mezzanine, and I got to the top of the stairs, guys. And there was just a wall of short boxes. Dozens of short boxes packed to the gills with comic books. And I turned the corner, and another whole wall of short boxes. I mean, the whole mezzanine was full of comic books. Crazy. I didn't have time for it. I went back down to the first floor again, and I saw there were two more boxes that I hadn't seen. One of them you saw had a Tomb of Dracula sign on it. And just like the other stuff I had been going through, it was like all key issues in there. But the prices were slightly better in these boxes. Not great, but a little bit better. And then my eye settled on a book that I thought the price was low. So low that I looked at it really closely to see what was wrong with the book. I really couldn't find anything. What book am I talking about? Well, it's the one I bought. It is Marvel Team Up number 95. This is from 1980. Cover by Frank Miller, of all people. Written by Stephen Grant, not the alter ego of Moon Knight, the writer Stephen Grant. And the significance is, of course, this is the first appearance of Mockingbird. To be clear, it's not the first appearance of her alter ego, Bobby Morse. She showed up in earlier in the 70s, as a doctor, and then she took on the moniker of Agent 19, a SHIELD agent, then the Huntress. And this is the first time she shows up with the moniker of Mockingbird. Now, she was a longtime Avengers affiliated character. She was in the Avengers, in the West Coast Avengers. She was married to and divorced Hawkeye, Clint Barton, for a while. And she's also appeared in live action at least twice, as far as I know. She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. For a couple of seasons, played by Adrienne Palicki, I think. And she was also, at least it was heavily implied, that Mockingbird is also the moniker of Laura Barton, the wife of Clint Barton, Hawkeye, in the Hawkeye series. There's a watch there that she gets back at the end, and it says Agent 19. She was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent with the same designation as Mockingbird had. So, very cool character. This book can go for quite a bit of money. I've seen it go for like over $100 in good condition, and I got it for $15, guys. And I can't see anything wrong with it. I mean, there's a slight color break up here, but otherwise, I think I got a great deal for $15 on this book. She's a cool character. I'm very happy to have this one. I'm happy I spotted it. I love the green background too. It just pops. It's a different looking comic book. So really happy I grabbed this one. Thought it was a great deal. So then I went through the Tomb of Dracula box, and I love Tomb of Dracula. Who doesn't love Tomb of Dracula? And what's so cool about this series, not only is it an awesome, monster book, occult, magic, that corner of the Marvel Universe, but every time Dracula meets somebody new, that's a key issue, and it's a cool battle and matchup. That's the case with, Blade, obviously his introduction in Tomb of Dracula number 10, which obviously you saw in the footage was not in there. But every time he meets, a Werewolf by Night or a Man-Thing or a Moon Knight, whenever he meets these people, it's a key issue. So I kind of had some of these in the back of my mind, and I've been looking for one. And I jumped back to that number. They were nice and organized, so it was easy to find. And I found this. This is Tomb of Dracula number 44. This is from 1976. And what the significance of this is that it's the first meetup and battle between Dracula and Doctor Strange. Now, really, really cool. This ends up being actually a two-part battle. I think the second part of this is actually in Doctor Strange number 14 from 1976, which I now definitely have my eyes open for. But yeah, it's just a really cool cover. I mean, all Tomb of Dracula covers are really cool looking. And despite the fact they're kind of dark and brooding, they're all pretty colorful, I think. But I think there's none more colorful than this one. It looks like Doctor Strange has some sort of rainbow spell going on. Really, really cool. Two major characters. It's also another key in that it's the first meetup between Blade and Hannibal King. Blade and Hannibal King were both in Blade 3, which is one of the worst superhero movies of all time. We don't need to talk about that any further, but their first meetup of them is in here. So, really awesome book. Super happy to find this one. I've been looking for it for a while, and this is in gorgeous condition. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful. So, happy to have this. I got it for $20. Most of the books in that box were, 30, 40, 50 bucks, 20 bucks for this book for a key I've been looking for. Heck yeah, all day, guys. Awesome, awesome looking book. So I leave this place with 2 comic books. At this point, I'm exhausted. I've been there for hours, but of course, I have to do my due diligence and check out the antique place right next door. It was called Jeremiah's Antiques. I walk in there, and it was a big place in its own right. There were lots of glass cases, locked. Some of them had comic books, had slab books. But I make my way to that front corner, and it looked like a comic book store, guys. There were short boxes, long boxes. They had wall books. They had slab books. It was awesome. And the prices, at least at first blush, were much better than the place next door. So first I looked at the wall books, and then I had a little bit of time to dig through for certain, specific issues that I was looking for. They were organized pretty good. And like I said, the prices were better, but even with the better prices, I was shocked when I found this book here. This is Action Comics number 595. This is from 1987, written and drawn by the incomparable John Byrne. And the significance of this is it's the first appearance of Silver Banshee. In my opinion, Silver Banshee is terrifying. She is one of the scariest DC villainesses. I was flipping through this book a little bit. She just kills people by just touching them. She fights lots of DC superheroes. She's primarily like a Superman antagonist. Just an awesome design by John Byrne. She scares the crap out of me, guys. Awesome villainess. I got this comic book for $3 all day. I mean, I love my villain first appearances, guys. Whether it's Marvel or DC, $3 for this book I think is an absolute steal. Awesome book to have. Really happy that I found it. Really cool. On the same topic of cool DC villain first appearances, anyone who's been watching my channel for a little bit has seen this book before. I actually found a really beat up copy of it in Massachusetts. I got it for $2, but it was pretty much destroyed along with all the other comic books at this flea market. But whenever I find a book like that, guys, that's really beat up, it just makes me want to find a better one. So when I saw this book, I kind of had to have it. This is Detective Comics starring Batman, number 524. This is from 1983. It's a Jerry Conway story, and the significance of this is that it's the first full appearance of Killer Croc. It's a mid-grade copy, you know, it's not in the best shape, but it's definitely better than the other one I have. Maybe I'll give my son the other one. But yeah, I'm happy to have another first appearance of a DC villain. And you know what I don't often do? I don't actually show you guys on this channel very much the inside of books. Not a lot of YouTubers actually do. But the cool thing about this is, you know, Killer Croc appears in lots of issues before this, but is like a generic gangster. You don't actually see his face. He's just like he has a fedora on and a high collar on his trench coat, so you don't actually see what he looks like. But this is the issue where someone comes up behind him and he pulls off his hat, and you can see right there, he is not entirely human looking. So there's your first full appearance of Killer Croc as a reptilian featured man. Very cool. So yeah, happy to add this to my collection. A slight redemption, I guess, for my horrible condition one. I got this one for $14. So this is probably about what it's worth. Not the best deal, but for the price, I thought it was absolutely worth adding to my DC supervillain collection. I think one of the coolest parts about this antique place and this little comic nook was that there were a ton of Silver Age comics. You saw them in the footage, like great ones, DC and Marvel. And, you know, the guy who put them there, I found out afterwards, was, you know, had been a comic book dealer. He knew what they were. He priced them pretty well, but he also like wrote down like the significance of a lot of the books. And honestly, a couple of these books I looked at, I learned something by like looking, oh, hey, that's the first appearance of this person. I saw a couple of books that, again, I could not live without, especially for the price. They were also having a deal on any books that were over like $25, I think. And I got a discount. So this book here, I got for $25. This is X-Men number 45. This is from 1968. It's a John Buscema cover. Now, the reason I got this, well, there's two reasons, actually. Yes, I love the X-Men. They're my favorite. I collect Silver Age stuff, especially X-Men books when I can find them, so I would have been happy to add this to my collection. But this isn't for me. I got this one because Cyclops is my son's favorite X-Man, and my son has a great appreciation for older Silver Age books. He has great taste, right? So I saw this where it's featuring Cyclops, and I thought to myself, for $25, I think this is a great book to give my son for Christmas. It'll be a stocking stuffer. I'm not going to stuff it in the stocking, obviously, but this is going to go to my son. I think he's going to appreciate it. And what I love about this is like he actually reads his comic books, right? What a novel idea. And this one is, you know, in beat up enough shape that I don't feel bad about him wanting to open it up and read through it. So yeah, Silver Age X-Men book. I think my son will be pleased about that. It's also cool to have Cyclops fighting a green-suited Quicksilver. Very neat. Okay, have you guys ever seen a book that until the moment you laid eyes on it, you didn't realize you couldn't live without it? That's the case with this next book. I've seen this cover before. I've seen it on posters, you know, and those like tin type that they make that you can put on your wall. I don't think I've ever actually seen this comic book in person before. So I saw it. It was also on sale, and I don't really care what the price was. I had to have it. I've talked about in the past how I love Daredevil, and I actually have a pretty good collection of Silver Age Daredevil simply because for a long time he had the most affordable Silver Age books of any, you know, marquee 1960s Marvel character. So I accumulated quite a bit of them, but I've never seen this book. All right, without procrastinating anymore, here it is. This is Daredevil number 43 from 1968, written by Stan Lee, interior art by Gene Colan, but cover art by Jack Kirby, no doubt about it. And of course, what makes this comic book so amazing is that it's looks like a boxing match between Daredevil and Captain America. And what's so cool about this cover to me, guys, is what Jack Kirby does. You know, he uses like this forced perspective on Captain America. His fist and his foot are really big, like they're coming out towards the reader. And it does two things. One, it makes Cap look intimidating, like he's just owning this this boxing ring. But also, you know, minimizes Daredevil, who, despite being the title character, is relegated to the background behind Captain America. This is just an awesome looking comic book, guys. And it's a dark cover. I mean, it definitely shows its wear. You know, there's some, a little bit of, you know, color coming off on the spine. You know, there's a very slight color break coming down through the middle of the book. But otherwise, guys, this is an awesome cover. And I honestly feel like, you know, for a Jack Kirby cover, I feel like this is an underappreciated cover. Is it me? Let me know down in the comments what you think of this comic book. Is it just me, or is this just like an awesome Jack Kirby cover that doesn't get enough love? Just an awesome book. I couldn't live without it, guys. I'm definitely going to put this on my back wall. It was 25 bucks. Really happy to add it to my collection. Definitely let me know down in the comments, guys, what you think of this one. So altogether, I spent a little over $100, but I think I got a fantastic stack of books for that price. So I got the first appearance of Mockingbird, the first meetup and battle between Dracula and Doctor Strange, the first appearance of Silver Banshee, the first appearance of Killer Croc, an awesome Silver Age X-Men book featuring Cyclops for my son, and evidently my favorite comic book of all time, maybe just my favorite comic book for today, Daredevil number 43. Let me know down in the comments, guys, what you think of my pickups, if I got them for a good price. Also, if you're in New England, definitely check out Putnam, Connecticut. What a delightful little town. If you do go to this place and you beat me to the punch, definitely let me know down in the comments which comic books you picked up. I'll be really happy for you guys. So in the meantime, guys, keep looking for comic books in strange and unusual places. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.